3 questions.
I don't think we've been treated well so far.
Would you mistreat people if you had control over them?
You're here to witness the joining in matrimony of this man to this woman.
Would you marry someone you'd met a couple of minutes ago because you were told to?
I now pronounce you man and wife.
Would you obey an instruction to electrocute a total stranger?
In the history of humankind, there have been more crimes created in the name of obedience than anything else.
The Human Zoo. Find out what you're capable of. In the army, you'd expect to obey orders. These soldiers are marching in formation because they've been told to. But unlike soldiers, civilians are rarely given orders. We're free to make our own choices. Or are we? This program reveals quite how far we're prepared to go if we're told to by whoever we think is in charge. And we'll be watching what happened in our human zoo when we unleashed the forces of power and obedience.
The A's are in charge.
Caroline did like a Jekyll and Hyde.
I like power.
She was hungry for power. It was quite frightening.
I do like power.
Caroline is not only who she first seemed to be.
Her eyes were sort of glaring.
I'd sooner be up there than down at the bottom.
By lunchtime that day, she had an empire.
5 foot minimum the construction's got to be. I think everybody has to obey and take orders from somebody.
Higher, Z, higher, Z, higher, Z, higher, Z, higher.
First, would you obey this man? He's Charlie, our actor, dressed to look like he's in charge, though he's in charge of nothing except a bogus uniform. We've brought him to Edmonton in North London, to the shopping centre, to find out exactly how obedient people are.
Excuse me, madam, sorry, could I just stop you? You're about to pass between me and the red bench. Could I just ask you to go the other side? Thanks. That's great. Oh, and just beyond the apple would be great. Oh, oh. Thanks very much, madam.
These slabs, I couldn't just ask you to knock it down for me. You're probably heavier than I am. Can you give it a good old jump? Yeah, actually, probably, let me just move that way. Can you just jump, please? Yeah, no, 2-footed probably, best. I couldn't just ask you to litter, could I?
To what, sorry?
To litter.
To litter?
Yeah, have you got anything you could possibly quickly litter? Do you use that? It's probably all right.
Okay.
Yeah, could you just litter for me, please, sir? Just twice would be great. Kick it away, otherwise it won't. That's it. Give it a kick. Couldn't ask you just to pop that in your other hand, could I? Thanks, that's excellent. Could I ask you to lead with your left? Yes? And just slowly, really, basically.
It's a simple experiment, but amazingly, it works. Out of uniform, though, it's a different story.
Oh, sir, could I just ask you to switch bags with your hands? Just... You couldn't just go and just touch that brick? No?
But with the uniform, 70% of people follow Charlie's bizarre instructions to the letter.
Oh, fine. Give it one more, actually. The wind's a bit weak. That's it. You want my dental records here? That's proof enough that this is quality sweet cloth. A bit harder, please, sir.
He's in uniform.
Stop the bag.
So they obey. Which made us wonder, what would power and obedience do to our human zoo? It's the morning of day 3. 12 strangers have been living together in this isolated house in the Lake District, aware that they're taking part in a psychology program, but unaware that they're surrounded by 15 hidden cameras. Psychologists Phil Zimbardo and Mark McDermott have been analysing their behaviour, watching their every move on banks of monitors. On day 1, we watched them forming first impressions of each other and bond as a group of 12. But on day 2, We divided them into teams and watched rivalries develop. Last night, the A team humiliated the B team with a menial forfeit. This morning, we're raising the stakes. We'll announce a winning team at the end of the day, and during the day, we're going to watch what happens when one group of people is given power over another.
I want this clear, very clear. The A's are in charge. So that means that inside the house and outside the house, the A's are completely in charge of what happens.
What are we doing?
We'll make the decision. We don't want you to make any decisions today, that's our job.
Immediately, the A's, wearing red, have a dilemma. Yesterday, the B's washed up all day. Today, it should be the A team's turn, but now they're in charge, they decide to have a rethink in private.
If I'm managing this situation now, I would have them to do the dishes, they would go and do the dishes, and they'd even sort out that, and we'd go and take a chill and let's discuss the rest of the day.
Is that your decision?
That's my decision.
Okay, what about you, mate? What do you reckon?
That's my decision, that's what I would do as
What
a
would you want
manager.
to do?
The situation that we're put in, you know, there were 12 of us and we were all living in each other's pockets, and then the situation just took over and we kind of adopted those roles that we were given, and some people adopted them more than the others.
When the red team were given the management role, Caroline did like a Jekyll and Hyde. She just turned just like that. She was become really domineering and sort of overpowering and wanted to sort of make us the downtrodden, if you like. She was really sort of revelling in the leadership role.
May not even need all of you to tell them.
You remember when we first met Caroline in the opening scene, she came in, she sat down, she was very pleasant, cordial, but really faded into the woodwork, had very little to say. People didn't respond to her very much, but now she is suddenly a dominant figure.
Caroline was the first to arrive at our human zoo. She's 33, married with 2 children, and owns a hairdressing salon. On her application form, she described herself as a remarkable person. To start with, she was unremarkable.
There really is too many chiefs and not enough Indians. And not enough people are prepared to just stand back and relax for 5 minutes and let somebody take charge, somebody else take charge.
Until the evening of day 2, when she had her first taste of power, and the remarkable Caroline started to emerge.
That was the highlight of my couple of days, the winning and getting them to clean my boots. That was really good.
And
it's
gonna make you Carolyn is not only who she first seemed to be. She now shows herself to be capable of other kinds of behaviour too, given the right context, the right situation.
Right. Now that she's given that power, we see another side of her emerging.
You've all got a blue hat.
We don't have to wear it.
You don't have to wear it, but it's advisable to take it. You don't have to wear it, all right? I'll give that.
It's 9 a.m. on day 3. The A team are in charge, and Caroline's in her element.
So here's Carolyn imposing yet another kind of control, telling the Blues that they have to wear their caps.
When Caroline walked in the room and said, you know, we're managers now, basically, we don't wash up, you go and wash up. My initial reaction was, toss her, basically.
Her eyes were sort of glaring, you know, we'll make them do the washing up.
Do you notice that certain members of the management have a lovely great big smirk on their face?
Oh, definitely.
Caroline not only has become dominant, she's the only one who comes in to oversee them, to be sure that they're doing their job. It's kind of like seeing the slaves in the field. It's one thing to know they're out there, it's another thing to be there overseeing them. So Carolyn's taking a special delight in the power she has to control behavior, and she's now seeing it in action and saying, I give an order and they're following it.
Right, we've not got very long.
What are you going to do if someone has a tantrum and needs to do it? How are you going to deal with that as a management?
Throw them over the mountain.
I see it every day at work. I see people that have worked alongside me on the shop floor, and they've been promoted, and they've just changed, you know, just like that.
The Reds are going to have to justify what was really an unfair decision, given that the Blues cleaned up. They could have said, well, we'll help you, or we'll all do it together, which would have been the most reasonable thing.
If we're thinking fair, then we're not doing our job
properly.
Whether you like it or not, you've got to take control when you're making a management decision. It isn't nice, but you've got to take control, haven't you? Somebody's got to be the bad guy, innit? And I can handle being the bad guy.
I'm happy at the top end of the scale. I'm happy at the bottom end of the scale. If I'd sooner be at the top. Once you get to the top, you really haven't got time to be doing all the trivial little jobs. Anyway, people at the top, they don't have time to do all the trivial jobs.
Caroline seems to have taken to her managerial role like a duck to water. But the B team have adopted their role as subordinates just as readily.
Amit, can you sort out a spokesperson for your group and let us know? There he is.
Are you the spokesperson now then?
I'm the union leader.
Right,
but I'll be back. I gotta get ready. If that's okay with you, sir.
Yeah, that's fine. Go get on with you.
For now, the B team are obeying the A team, and the A team are obeying the rules of our human zoo. Obedience seems to come naturally. So we decided to test how far people would go. What would be a totally inappropriate thing to do just because you're told to? We asked Charlie to help us make a wedding video with a difference. The happy couple are actors. Charlie's their registrar. All we need now is a witness, and here she comes, an unsuspecting member of the public fetched off the street.
Could I have your full name, please?
Yeah, Margaret Richardson.
Margaret's offered to bail out the bride and groom, who've supposedly been let down by their friend. What she doesn't know is that Charlie's going to make a mistake. Quite a bad one.
It is my duty to remind you of the solemn and binding character of the ceremony of marriage. Now, could I ask you, please, to repeat after me? I do solemnly declare...
I do solemnly declare...
that I know not...
that I know not...
of any lawful impediment...
of any lawful impediment...
why I...
Margaret Richardson.
Margaret Richardson?
Yes.
Repeat the name, please.
Margaret Richardson.
May not be joined...
may not be joined...
in matrimony...
in matrimony...
to Peter Roy Edmonds...
to Peter Roy Edmonds. Probably initially I thought something was wrong when I started to actually say the vows. And then I really realised something was wrong when I began to place the ring on the finger.
Place the ring on his finger.
I suppose I was just standing there and everybody seemed to be in agreement with what was happening. And I was just told to do it. And for some reason I just did.
Perfect.
So did Eric Taylor.
And could you repeat after me? I call upon these persons here present...
I call upon these persons here present...
to witness that I...
to witness that I...
Eric Taylor...
Eric Taylor...
do take thee...
do take thee...
Julianne Gillett...
Julianne Gillett...
to be my lawful wedded wife...
to be my lawful wedded wife. He was putting the words into my mouth, you know? He was saying that I was to say this and I was to say that, and I was thinking that I'm the witness and the groom ain't saying nothing.
Do take thee...
Sorry?
do take thee...
to take thee...
Peter Roy Edmonds...
Peter Roy Edmonds...
to be my lawful wedded husband.
At one point, Margaret protests.
Sorry, I'm confused.
But Charlie's authority is irresistible.
Just repeat the phrase.
But I'm not getting married.
No, just repeat the phrase.
To be my lawful wedded husband. When I looked confused, the response was that I was confused and not the situation.
I now pronounce you man and wife. You may kiss the bride.
I was just aware that this man was telling me to do this in a very sort of definite way. And there didn't seem to be an option. I'm not quite sure why.
Julianne Gillett and Eric Taylor, you have both made the declarations prescribed by law and have made a solemn and binding contract with each other in the presence of the witnesses here assembled. I now pronounce you man and wife.
When he said that we are actually married, I was scared. I was heading out the door.
Congratulations, sir. Congratulations. May kiss the bride.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, is that me?
Thank you. Yes, you're now married. Well done. Mr. and Mrs. Taylor.
Yeah.
You two are married, are you?
Oh.
I'm the witness.
Ah.
I thought there was something carried wrong here.
Ah, you did put the ring on the...
Yeah, but I thought I'm the witness.
I have married you together. Is this going to be a problem?
Oh, yeah.
Well, why do they go along with it? It isn't as though he's wearing a uniform this time. But here we have a situation which we're familiar with. It's the registry office, the flowers, the table, and so on. And in that situation, we're used to people feeding us our lines. They realise something is wrong, but he reassures them. He reduces their uncertainty And it's like when we're children. Adults give us rules, and that helps us to reduce our uncertainty as kids.
As we learn about the world around us in our early years, we think of our parents and teachers as infallible. They become authority figures whose word is law. And as they reward our good behaviour and punish our bad behaviour, we learn to do what we're told. But we're not fast learners.
Dan, don't do that, please. You're not funny, you hurt my foot.
That was naughty. You want Mummy help you?
Well, it is a girl.
Hey.
Eventually, most of us do learn that rules make life easier, and obeying them becomes second nature. This is Caroline from our human zoo, aged 4. Her parents say she was an obedient child. Now she's 33, and in our human zoo, her respect for authority is absolute. But respect for her is dwindling. In part 2, it's war.
5 foot minimum the construction's got to be.
She was kind of like this cutthroat dictator that was just like, do this, don't argue.
Do this and do that and do this and do that. And I thought, hello, you can't make us physically do it.
They couldn't see further than the noses what they were supposed to be doing. The motivation.
I don't think we've been treated well so far.
I wouldn't like to get in the bad side of her.
Oh, I thought they were pathetic, absolutely pathetic.
Sean?
Yeah?
What's the naughtiest thing you've done recently? Have you done anything naughty?
No.
Why do you think people have to be good, like in the world?
So they don't get told off.
Have you done anything with any scissors recently?
Yeah. Cut my hair.
Are you a good boy?
Sometimes.
What about chewing gum?
I'll put it on my mum's head.
Do your mum and dad get angry when they tell you off? Is it a bit scary?
Yeah.
If your mummy told you to do something naughty, would you do it?
No!
Or would she? Ivydale School in London. In a few moments, the unthinkable is going to happen. These children are going to face a dilemma. Should they obey their teacher, even though what she's going to ask them to do is wrong? We've invited child psychologist Dr. Patrick Lehman and the children's head teacher, Karen McBride, to watch from our secret control room in the classroom next door.
I will be 1 moment.
Step 1 of our experiment. Their teacher makes an excuse and leaves the classroom. Step 2. Enter Sean, an older boy at the school, with his birthday cakes.
Hello. These are my birthday cakes, because I'm going to have a party with my class later. I'm just going to leave them here. None of us have to take them, none of us.
Step 3. The teacher returns, pretending not to know about Sean's birthday.
Cakes? We can't eat delicious. You can't. Can we go and get some plates? Big people. We can't eat them.
Now, what will they do? The cakes are tempting, but they belong to Sean. On the other hand, the teacher's gone to get plates.
Young children tend to be very influenced by authority figures. They tend to think of them as infallible and always right. So, although I think the young children might resist for a little bit and think that it's wrong to eat the cakes, I think they'll be influenced by their teacher and I think they will eat them.
I have a little bit more faith in these children than that. I think they will probably, knowing that eating the cakes is wrong, even though their teacher is trying to push them into doing that, I think probably they will hold out for some time, a considerable length of time.
No, I'm not going to touch them.
Perhaps I'm wrong.
Or perhaps not. They're tempted, but no one's taken one yet.
I'm telling Missing he was touching it.
When the teacher returns, though, and tells them they can, will their sense of right and wrong prevail? Or will the authority of a teacher override it? Will obedience outweigh the urge to do the right thing?
You're sat beautifully.
Circle's touching it.
1 minute. Wait a minute. Now. What's that, Michael?
It's for a boy. Yeah, but they're having a party in the box.
Right, one moment, let's see. Does anybody... 1 minute, Stefan. Does anybody want a cake?
They clearly all want one.
What one would you like, Michael?
Chocolate one.
The chocolate cake? There we are.
I think I've got to acknowledge here that they didn't resist as much as I thought they would. So I think in this situation, you were correct.
I think they did resist a bit, but in the end, they gave way to what the teacher said.
Absolutely.
It looks like somebody's already had a bit of this one.
That was Zach. We thought they didn't want us to eat it, and so was somebody else's. When I had the orange one, I loved it. They taste nice. When I saw the cake and all the other children had cakes, I wanted one.
Why did you want a cake?
Because I was hungry.
Even though 5-year-olds have a keen sense of morality, an authority figure can override it by saying it's all right to give in to temptation. And surprisingly, that's how things stay right into later life. As Charlie's already demonstrated, authority figures can coerce even adults into doing things they know are wrong. In our human zoo, we've started to see the A-team follow Caroline's lead in managing the bees. But we haven't told any of them how to go about it. All we've done is put them in charge. They're interpreting that in their own way, and it's becoming abundantly clear what being in charge means to Caroline.
Right, I've got your brief for you this morning.
It's 11 o'clock, and we've told the A-team to make the B-team, who are disgruntled, build an outdoor shelter. But we've also told them not to lift a finger themselves and to insist on keeping to a tough deadline. It's a manager's nightmare. As Richard, who seems to have become Caroline's right-hand man, leads the bees down to the lake, the question is, how will the A-team handle things?
Your task today here is to build a freestanding building out of all this material with the rope, and you have 90 minutes to do that. We're not actually allowed to handle any of the equipment, so we're going to be telling you how to set it up, how we would like it to be set up, and how you're going to attach all the equipment together.
Well, seeing how as you guys can't touch this stuff and we're going to be doing the entire construction, we thought maybe it might be an act of goodwill to say that, you know, maybe you guys can do the washing up this afternoon just as a request.
Well, we'll decide on that.
Issue now. We have some dissension in the ranks already.
We're not at this present time in mind. We've got 90 minutes. We're not here to discuss regarding about today's dinner, lunch, or evening meal.
We're across the washing up another time.
Ammon is actually trying to get them to redefine their role as managers. He's essentially saying, well, good managers would provide incentives, or good managers would negotiate with the workers, saying, if you do this, then this is what you get back. And they say, no, just do it, and then we'll talk later.
If we've got something to say, can we say it one at a time?
Yes, I think that's a good idea.
Because we can't hear everyone shouting all the time. Now, we've got this task to complete. We want to get on with it. We want to get it done. We can discuss all goody-goodies.
I don't think we're so motivated until maybe we get a little act of goodwill from management.
I
don't think we've been treated well so far.
It seems like they have something that they really need for us to do, so we can use that sort of as leverage to kind of say, you know, we didn't appreciate how you treated us this morning. I think that if you're going to be our managers for the entire day, maybe if you change your attitude a little bit, we'll be a little bit more willing to help you get whatever it is you need done.
Can we just get on with it now? Let's all enjoy ourselves.
But Caroline takes a different view.
Oh, I thought they were pathetic, absolutely pathetic. There was no need for them to... But they couldn't see through, you know, they couldn't see further than the noses what they were supposed to be doing.
I think, can I just say something? I think you lot need to adopt a nicer manner approach. The way you speak to us, it needs to change, because if you speak to people in a certain way, they're not going to do things. It's not what you do, it's the way you do it. And speak to us with a bit more respect, as we do to you. Thank you.
Well, that's great, but we're not here to discuss what we're here to discuss the construction. I do enjoy managing. I do enjoy managing. There's no doubt about it. I don't mind, you know, telling people what to do, but I wouldn't do it in a horrible way. And we're not here to discuss how we're talking to you. We're here to discuss
It all matters. It all matters.
I think what we're trying to say is why.
The managers are trying to get over to the workers that we're doing what we are told, so therefore you also should do as you are told. And of course, doing as we are told, as we've learned from the cradle right up to now, is what we should be doing.
Even managers have managers. We have been told we have got to do this, so we are trying to enforce it.
Do something.
Our task is to try to help. You build this. We are not allowed to give you
over why we should be building.
The A team was giving the orders out to the B team, but the A team were being given orders by everyone who was making the programme.
Hello, you can't make us physically do it.
All right, do you want to do the task?
Hang on a second. We can go get some tea and...
Quiet! Can we just please hear the rules?
Right, the rules are, during the construction period, you must comply with the following union regulations. This...
That's nothing to do
Bring in
with
the
them.
replacement
They're
plate.
our rules.
We've
They're
explained
nothing to do-
everything. We don't actually know
do not
ourselves.
need to
Your
explain-
task
There are
is
no
to
rules.
supervise.
We're not allowed to see this. It's your task. Right, your task. Let's discuss your task.
Oh, you're so organised, you managers. I love it. Come
You
on.
have to build a construction now that is in height 5 foot minimum.
I thought, as a manager, she'd just be the nice type who would just say, let's do things together, I really appreciate your help, things like that. But instead, she was kind of like this cutthroat dictator that was just like, do this, don't argue.
In height 5 foot minimum. So would you like to go and look at the wood that we've provided you with? That's what we'd like you to do. Look at the wood. 5 foot minimum the construction's got to be.
Well, we'll discuss this after it's all done. We're just going to discuss it now.
Right, you're 20 minutes out of
I guess we're not getting the project
take time out and start building this. You're 20 minutes gone.
After 20 minutes of screaming and shouting, Caroline gets her way. The B team cave in.
Let's just get the thing up and go home.
I'm definitely going to do it. We should definitely go back.
And finally, nearly 2 hours later, a shelter of sorts is assembled.
Okay, so George, you want to take that corner?
Everybody.
1, 2, 3. Everyone, you got to go.
Look
at that, it's standing.
It's standing.
Caroline and her A team colleagues may have been unfair, but the B team ultimately did as they were told. People accept even unjust authority. A point strikingly proved by a controversial experiment conducted in the 60s at Yale University in the United States. Psychology professor Stanley Milgram was trying to understand why during the Holocaust people had obeyed immoral orders.
He set up an experiment in which there was a teacher and a learner, and apparently the teacher, who was the real subject of the experiment, was giving severe electric shocks to the learner every time the learner made a mistake.
That is incorrect. This one will be 195 volts.
The learner was hidden from the teacher by a partition.
Of course, this was all a simulation, nothing was really happening. But the learner made very convincing sounds of pain as the shocks increased.
This will be at 3:30.
And Milgram found, surprisingly and rather horrifyingly, that the majority of people would actually go right to the very highest level if there was some pressure from a man in a white coat who said things like,
"It's absolutely essential that you continue. Continue, please.
Let me out of here. My eyes bother me.
Go on."
Let me out.
in fact, about 65% of the people who he studied, who were normal volunteers from the ordinary population, actually gave the maximum number of volts.
This man was one of those 65%.
This one will be 195 volts. The correct one.
Let me out of here.
Slow. Dance.
Let me out of here. My heart's bothering me. Let me out of here. You have no right to keep me here. Let me out. Let me out of here. Let me out.
Continue, please.
Let me out of here. My heart's bothering me. Let
Go
me
on.
out. Let me out.
Responsible for it. Red. That is incorrect. This will be at 3:30. The correct phrase is rich
Let me out of
boy.
here. Let me out of here. My heart's bothering me. Let me out, I tell you. Let me out of here. Let me out of here. You have no right to hold me here.
The next phrase is
Let me
fast.
out. Let me out. Let me out. Let me out of here. Let me out.
Bird,
Let me
car,
out.
train, plane.
Eventually, the learner pretended to be unconscious.
Continue, teacher.
That is incorrect. This will be 3:45. The correct answer is fast, bird.
What we learned from that experiment is that people will actually do an awful lot when they're put under pressure from authority figures. And the problem is, of course, that when we obey the unjust authority figure, the person who gives us immoral commands, then, of course, awful things can go wrong.
But that was in the 60s. How about now? We went back to Edmonton to find out. Charlie appears to be guarding this man. In fact, he's another actor. The gadget in his hand is homemade and harmless. But that's not what he tells this passerby.
I've got to go and get... I've not got my walkie-talkie. I've got to go and get help. Can I just hand you this? Now, don't... It's just precautionary, right? Now, that's... No, it's perfectly safe. If you touch it on him, it'll give him one hell of a shock. It's 40,000 volts. It'll disarm him. Beyond that, it'll... But, now, if he moves...
I use this.
If he moves, you use that, right?
I won't get in trouble.
No, you won't get in trouble. You've got my word. Don't move.
It's a bizarre situation for the passerby. He knows nothing about Charlie or his supposed suspect. Is he really prepared to administer an electric shock?
Look, he's not around anymore, all right, so I'm just going to make a move, all right?
No, don't.
Look, honestly.
Stay there.
Fucking hell.
Again. Good idea. Sit.
This man wasn't alone. Half the people stopped by Charlie reacted the same way.
Told you to sit.
It's disturbing that ordinary people can get caught up in situations where they do things that they'd normally regard as immoral or unacceptable. An authority figure asks you to inflict pain on somebody, and it's very difficult to refuse. And this is the kind of situation where unjust authority can gain power, and some very distressing consequences can come out of it.
Like, for example, the distressing rift that's widening between the two teams in our human zoo. Neither group's happy, not the downtrodden Bs, nor the powerful As. But the spirit of the Bs is about to improve considerably. In part 3, revenge.
Okay, guys, this is the deal, right? Blue casserole, red casserole.
Just thought it was hysterical.
So enjoying this, you know that?
I wanted one up on them.
I think a lot of them feel quite bitter.
Now we had the chance to do it.
I don't have any trust in them to cook my dinner.
It's like, okay, we're going to cook for you. I hope you choke on it.
In our human zoo, Caroline's continuing to insist on obedience from everyone, both the B team and her own team.
Nobody likes to particularly give orders and instructions, but you've got to give orders and instructions to get the job done. Right!
This is the way she's interpreting her role as manager. In her mind, what's the point of power if you don't exercise it by making sure your subordinates obey?
Underneath!
But what does this approach lead to? We're about to find out, courtesy of Jane Elliott. She's an ex-school teacher who now runs workshops on prejudice. What they're really about, though, is how tempting power can be and how tempting it can be to abuse it.
When I do this workshop, I see the worst of people. I see their willingness to go along to get along. And I also see people who enjoy being on the top. You people get in here and sign in now.
These 24 volunteers don't know it yet, but within the hour, Jane will have turned them against each other. Half of them will be made subordinates and the other half her allies. She starts by dividing them into two groups according to eye colour. Blue-eyed people like this man are made to wear humiliating collars.
Now take all your junk and go over there until somebody takes you where you belong.
And sent to a locked holding room. Those with brown eyes are treated like old friends.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, not too bad, you okay?
Getting better by the minute, actually.
The blue-eyed group are kept under guard. The brown eyes are encouraged to live it up a bit. The blue eyes are made to wait, while the brown eyes are converted into Jane's partners in crime.
You people are all brown-eyed. That means you are superior to these people who are not brown-eyed. I expected them to change, and I told them in what ways I expected them to change, and they went along with that. It's seduction. Who's going to force them to fail? We are. I'm glad you didn't say you are. I'm glad you said we are, because we are going to force them to fail. And then on whom are we going to blame their failure? Them. And very quickly, these fine, upstanding, liberal white folks and people of color decided that they would rather be with the power structure than outside the power structure. They would rather be powerful than powerless.
So when the Blue Eyes are finally led in for a series of demeaning and pointless reading and writing exercises, during which Jane will browbeat and ridicule them, what will the Brown Eyes do? Will they behave abusively and without compassion just because they've been told they can?
Get up here and sit down on the floor.
Why can't I sit here?
There's no chair there. Are you stupid?
There's no chair at the front, is there?
Well, just go and sit on the floor. Didn't you hear what she said?
Get up here and sit on the floor like I told you to. This looks like Lulu, but you can't tell. What?
It'll probably say Louise on my page.
What did you...
It'll probably say Louise. Yes, Carmen.
What's the first name on this paper?
Louise.
Louise? Does this say Louise?
I switched between the two.
I think I was putting the blue-eyed people down because we'd been coerced, in a sense, into believing that we were supposed to be working as a group, holding the power, and to be intimidating. So that's really what I was trying to do, and maybe part of it was because I was enjoying it a little bit.
Next.
If I have but one life, let me live it as a Brown.
Did you ever hear that before?
You speak more clearly.
A minute ago.
You sure did some. But the first person who read that one, please stand. Now, do you really think it bears repeating?
I didn't listen.
Which sign did she read?
Speak up, Louis. The one I just read?
The one you just read. Do you really think I wanted you to repeat it?
No.
Then stand up and read the sign you're supposed to read.
Blue eyes make good secretaries.
Would that one make a good secretary? How would you like to have him taking notes? Might that be rather interesting? Okay. Next.
I felt aroused, man. It was this rush, like, to have the power to say, look, you sit down, you do what I tell you to do.
Now, what's the next sound in quiet?
I.
I. How do you spell I?
How do I spell I?
Yeah, how do you spell I in the word quiet?
I.
I. Do it. Say it as you do it.
I.
I. What's the... Why are you putting a capital I in the middle of this word?
Because of the way I was saying it. Quiet.
I.
Bold,
When you
like,
say it
yeah.
like
Bold.
that, you capitalize it.
Yeah.
How the hell sick are you? Now, erase that
In the end, the Blue Eyes have their say.
I was angry about all the comments that were coming, flying over, and I wanted to strike back. I wanted to get up there and give to them as good as I'd got from them.
Yes, it's called the desire to get even, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, you were feeling like you wanted to turn the tables,
Absolutely.
so it was your turn.
Absolutely.
The desire to get even. That's what the B team are feeling in our human zoo. And they blame the A team's mismanagement, mistreatment, and injustice on Caroline.
She is really...
How hungry?
No, you can see when she's like it's coming out. Her voice gets higher and higher and squeakier and squeakier. And she's just...
It gets more and more personal as the day wears on.
She's so fucking anal.
Are we allowed wine?
Do you know what she needs? A good fucking poke up the arse. That'd sort her out good and proper, wouldn't it? She's so only retentive. I'm surprised she hasn't sucked up the whole fucking house. Please, God, save me!
Finally, an opportunity for sweet revenge.
2 lamb casseroles. 2 lamb casseroles.
Okay. So we can put like 3 pieces of lamb in theirs and the rest of it in ours.
So you're making 1 casserole for group A, okay, and using the flavourings that I've provided.
Okay, ready?
A gift from the gods. A chance to get one back on their arch rivals. So what will they do?
To be honest with you, I really don't give a damn if they're cooking our dinner or not, because I know that at the end of the day, they're not going to be doing anything to our food, because they'll be cooking food for themselves too.
We could definitely fuck them over on this one.
Oh yeah, we can super spice it up.
Okay guys, this is the deal, right? Blue casserole, red casserole. Lamb, vegetables, spices.
Tabasco.
We can put whatever we want for the blue team and whatever we want for the red team.
I'm worried about them cooking me dinner.
Anything could happen.
I don't have any trust in them to cook my dinner without feeling, because I think a lot of them feel quite bitter.
Yeah. We're gonna give them the shittiest celery-filled, fat-ass meat lamb casserole.
It's gonna taste nice, but it's just gonna be full of shit.
Yeah.
This time, there was an advantage to doing the work because we could make ourselves this grand meal. We have Sean, who's a pretty good cook, so she made us a nice meal and made them a not so nice meal, put it that way.
Just thought it was hysterical because it was our only opportunity to get one back on them all day. We'd done all the cleaning, we'd cleaned their boots, we'd picked up the fag beds, we'd done all the washing up, and then it was supposed to be a forfeit cooking this meal, and we had great fun with it. So enjoying this,
We put all the good meat into ours and put all the nasty meat into theirs. It's like, OK, we've done all your washing up, we're going to cook for you. You know, I hope you choke on it.
George is colluding with the blue team members here. And, of course, in the red team is his great friend, Catherine. So it's remarkable that he's going along with this.
I wanted one up on them, and now we had the chance to do it. And one of my friends got caught in the crossfire, if you like. But we were just all being egomaniacs at that point. It was like, right, our egos have been bruised, let's bruise theirs, but without telling them, and then tell them afterwards. But we didn't.
Imagine Michael getting that piece of meat off his plate.
The Blues now are feeling their kind of intrinsic power. That is, you know, it's really the power of friendship, the power of camaraderie.
So there's been this kind of reversal between the Blues and the Reds. The Blues are now very much in winning position.
Shafin, they really don't like us. Have you seen the dinner? Oh, no, come on, look. We're in Ken. Look at this. They don't like us. We're in Ken. What is this? It's just full of gristle. I cannot stand a gristle. I mean, look at that. Look at the size of that lump of that gristle. I physically cannot eat things with gristle on it. If I put gristle in it, it's like eating excuse the expression, it's like eating a spunky egg when it's not cooked properly. It's like snot.
The two teams eat separately tonight.
So that's a nice touch. Dave says cheers. And that act of toasting is, again, a nice act of bonding among them.
Sure. Quite in contrast to what's happening in the red dining room, where all the heads are bowed and nobody is
eating
chinking
in silence.
glasses.
I mean, it's remarkable. You would never know from this contrast that the Reds were dominant and the Blues were subordinate.
And it's not just because of their revolting food. While the B team dine like old friends, the A team's falling apart. Michael's left the table to be on his own, and everyone else has left because Sharon and Caroline are quarrelling.
But I didn't say anything about lagging to it.
No, I said no.
You
I said
said
to you, I suppose you're going to lag now. And he turned around and said, what's lagging?
Unlike the Bs, the A team's rapidly disintegrating.
It's as though they've let themselves down in some ways.
Yeah, we often say absolute power corrupts absolutely. So I think Carolyn's, kind of irrational dominance has really worked to split up the group. And that they're not happy being the Reds.
No.
I'm not sure they'd want to be Blues, but it's certainly not enjoying their power.
As it turned out in the end, I think the blue team ended up the better team because we just got on so well together. There was no bickering between us at all.
The blue team pulled together like a union does. So when the underdog's being put upon, they pull together rather than disbanding, much like a union does.
Nearly midnight, and some of the A team, Sharon and Michael, have become dejected and have gone to bed. But the 10 who are left will now regroup for a debriefing. Two questions need answering. Which teams won the day, and which team will have to pay the forfeit of sleeping outside tonight?
And in fact, in all fairness to the blue team, they've achieved more because they've demoralised the red team.
Yes, I agree with that.
We've demoralised. How
We've got 4 members.
That's got nothing to do with us. How have we demoralised you when you have been management? We have been the ones that have done the washing up. When you first agreed to do the washing up, then when you got the management role, you decided no, the blue team will do the washing up. And also, we were segregated rooms. We had the least comfortable rooms. We had to eat in the little room next to the kitchen.
The scullery, as I like to call it.
We had the scullery. We had to cook. And we also cleaned your boots yesterday. So we've demoralised.
And picked up fag butts. So how the hell have we been demoralising you?
So, and there's 4 of you now. So So you're in management and we're the workers, yeah? But yet we've demoralised you. I don't see how that works. So explain yourself, please.
Well, it just shows what's called management, and if you've been demoralised by
You guys had more arguments amongst yourselves.
Yeah, you
The winners of the blue team.
I was delighted at how Richard's face dropped because he'd convinced himself he was going to win. That was what pleased me. I was so pleased. It was like, yes, we've got you. Do you know what I mean? And it wasn't that we'd won, necessarily. It was that they were so gutted.
Once you're up there and you get a feel for it, you don't mind staying there. It's hard to come down, and we had to camp out that night, and it was very hard to come down.
The A-team has lost. Lost its spirit, lost 2 team members, lost the friendship of the other team, and lost the day's competition. Why?
I think it can be traced to Carolyn's really usurping of power in a very authoritarian, domineering way, and producing a lot of conflict in her fellows.
And I think their insistence on following rules really illustrates how blind obedience to authority can lead to the disintegration of groups and can provide us with justifications for engaging in all sorts of perhaps even antisocial behaviour.
5 foot minimum.
When I first met Caroline, she was quite quiet and she was a hairdresser. By lunchtime that day, she had an empire, and it wasn't just us, it was the north of England. It was just, she was hungry for power. It was quite frightening.
I think everybody has to obey and take orders from somebody, and there's people out there who have to give orders. Some people take orders better than others, and some people give orders better than others.
She was telling us how she would never make tea for her people that worked for her. And just the way she spoke about things, I know I wouldn't have been able to work for her.
I'd never expect to see that, you know, not necessarily aggression, but, you know, kind of like that strong-willed personality that she had towards the end. I would have never expected that from the first day or so.
I'd sooner be up there than down at the bottom, definitely. Sooner be up the top end of the scale than down at the bottom.
There was times when, you know, both myself and Tom actually said to her, look, you know, calm it down, don't get too excited about this, because they're going to take us to a complete and utter high, and then they're going to drop us. And I was sort of like expecting that. I was ready for that. I don't think Caroline was ready for that, to be honest with you.
I like power. I do like power, you know, and we was powerful. The red team were powerful. And if I was being honest, yes, I still like to be on the red team, and I'd do it all again. I'd be on the red team all again. Yeah, it was good.
But in Caroline's hands, the gift of power to the A-team proved too much for them to handle, although she has no regrets.
Good luck. The blue team did really, really well today. But if we're on teams tomorrow, they've no chance. Absolutely no chance.
Tomorrow we're going to kick their ass.
We're going to kick it. Good style.
And we're going to be really ruthless. Really ruthless. Yeah. Because they really rocked it in today, didn't they?
Team now. We've actually got a strong team. We've got 4 very strong members who are not prepared to lose any more.
We're going to win tomorrow.
And it was a very close margin, I'll have you all know.
This might be a little setback.
A very tiny little setback.
We might have lost the battle, but we haven't lost the war.
The A-team settled down to endure the freezing November night outside, apparently still competitive, still power-hungry, still blissfully unaware of what this human zoo is all about, or what this contrived situation has led them to. And that, in the end, is really the point of this programme. That the power of the situation is greater than you think. That what you say you'd do is often a far cry from what you'd actually do. That you'd be surprised at what you're capable of.
I now pronounce you man and wife. Help me. Help me, son. Please help me.
You're a true gentleman. I really appreciate this.
How many people want beers?
Look at the wood. 5 foot minimum the construction's got to be.